Okay, we're at the beginning of our role-playing game. We're kind of on the we did our first step, which was to create a window, graphical user interface. We're going to keep working on it and talking about Windows controls. What we want to do now is we want to make it so that when we double-click on Create Character, it's going to open up a new form, and it's going to have like a dialogue form like this, where we can enter the name of the character, their gender, their class. And so we're going to have to develop a new form. So what you want to do is you want to develop, you want to create your form first. So in order to create a new form, you want to go to Project. So click on Project right now and click Add Windows Form. Okay, when you do that, it's going to open up a dialog, and you want to name this form. So this is the time to name it and come up with a good name. Now, I think what we were doing before is form underscore and whatever we're going to name it. So we'll keep on that, that general format. So at this point, you can see all these different things we can add to our project. So we're going to add a Windows form. And so like I said, we're going to name it right here. And this is for a character creator. So character creator, okay? And that's just the title I give it. And then I'm going to click Add. So when I add that, it's going to open up a new form designer window for us to do it. Now before we do this, notice it says form character creator.cs design. And if I double click the form itself, it gives me some issues. Okay, well, I'm not sure what's going on with that. We'll figure that out in a moment. But for now, I think that's a network issue. For now, we have our form, and we're going to add some pieces to it. And we want to get our properties open. So let's just go ahead and go to View, Properties, so that we have that available. So we get our Properties window open. Let's drag it out a little bit. So in our character creator, what we want to do is we want to add some form controls. Now, the first form control you want to do is the character's name. And actually, before we even do that, we should go ahead and change the text at the top here. Okay. So, so you want to highlight where it says text. And I don't know why this thing is not. I'm going to open up a little bit further. All right. So on text, go ahead and so you just put some text on there you want to read. If you want to change the icon, you do that in the properties. You choose what you're going to do. All right, and so what we're going to do is for the created character, we're going to ask for their name, their gender, and what class they're going to be. And it's going to be a list that they can draw from and select. We're going to have a button that when you press the button, it's going to save the information. So I had an excellent question. What happens if we don't see that form right away? You want to go to Solution Explorer. And you should see somewhere down around here, I see this, there's Form 1, and I see now there's Form Character Creator. And there's this here. And so try double-clicking that, the .cs, and it should open it. Does that work for you? All right, so let me go ahead so that we want to put in, now to get their name, we need both a label and a text box. So I'm just going to grab a label. I'm going to drop that in. And then I'm going to get my text box, and I'm going to drop that in, and I'm going to try to line it up to the label. And so on the label, we want to name it. Okay, you got to be careful. You want to be able to name everything properly. That's going to be the variable that represents that label. By the way, we're talking object-oriented. A label is a Windows control, but it's also a class. Okay, label is a class, and then where you actually create a label and put it on a form, that becomes an instance of the label class. So LBL underscore, and I'm going to call it character name. Okay, so I'm going to actually specifically name it character name. Sorry, I got to get that back. And then I'm going to go to the down here, and I want to change the text to say name. And text align. Does that work? Top right. Yeah. I don't know. There's text align somewhere on here. That's what I was trying to look for. It might just be because it has a margin on the right or yeah. All right. Well, anyway, we got our name. Then this is the text box. So we're going to call that TXT. Actually, I don't know. There's different naming conventions here. Let me just pause for a second. Okay, so I'm going to name this just TXT underscore, and then character name. Okay, so we have label, character name, and let me make sure that's what I name it. Yeah, label, character name, and text character name. So the idea here is that we give the intro is different, but they're both a character name. So one represents the label for it, one represents the actual text box. Okay, and so there's our label. And then what we're going to do is we're going to let the user choose the gender. And in order to choose the gender, what we want to do is we're going to use what's called a radio button. And it's a way to sort of select between one of two options or three or four. And the idea of the radio button is it's set so that you can only select, when you group them, you can only select one. You're not allowed to select more than one. Okay? So what we need is we need a group box and we need a radio button. So the group box is actually not under common controls. I'm just going to look under all Windows forms, and it's called group box. It's a way to group related items. So it groups your set of controls. So this is a group box, and it's going to be for the gender group box. So I'm just going to call it G box for group box gender. Okay, and then inside of the group box, we're going to put our two radio buttons. I'm going to go ahead and hide that again. So radio buttons, and what's nice about a radio button is you drop it into the group box, and it has the button and the text right next to it. Let me just see. Hold on a second. Okay, so our radio buttons, we're gonna just name it RDO. I'm gonna do RDO gender male. And then on the text, we're gonna make sure we put male. And then we're gonna grab another one, drop it in. And it'll be RDO. Gender, female. So I had another good question, and that was about, can you do the checkbox ones instead of the circle ones? And you can, and I think you can program it so you can only do one at a time. But normally, these kind of radio buttons are designed to indicate that you can only choose one. And that's the way the behavior is set also. The other thing on the group box, I should change the name of the group box to state gender. Okay, so now we have name, we have gender, we've grouped them together. And the last thing we want to do is we want to add like a drop-down box for what class they are. Okay, so we're going to do a combo box for letting them select what the race is. So we get combo box, we drag it out. And one of the things you can do, let's go ahead and name it like we've been doing everything else. So we're going to name it CBO for combo. Character class. No, I'm not. I'm going to use character class just so we don't get confused when we do object oriented. We talk about class, right? So we're going to name it here, and then we should probably label it as well. And I'll do that. You guys can do that. Label's pretty easy. And then what we can do on here is we can actually edit the items. One of the things you'll notice, it says use data-bound items. And you would only select that if you were going to use a program. You would program like pull out of a database or pull off of a file and populate it with it, which you can do, but we're not going to do that in our first pass. That would be a little bit more advanced technique. So we're just going to click Edit Items. And now we just put one item per line, and we're just going to go add up what character classes they are. So what all do we have? I guess, let me take a look. Mage. What else might we do? Rogue. We go rogue. Cleric. Paladin, right? Is that how you spell it?
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Lumberjack.
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. Door salesman. I guess, isn't that a salesperson these days? All right. Well, anyway, we'll skip that one. Technically, I think it's door to door. You click OK, and then we're going to want to test it out. All right. All right. We've got a bland, boring sort of window here, but I want to talk about a quick thing here. See, it says form character creator.cs. All right. I want to show you something in the Solution Explorer. When we double click on here, you're going to see this namespace, RPG, partial class, form character creator. This is a class. Remember, a class is like a blueprint. From that blueprint, we can create instances of an object. Okay, so what we're going to do is this form has been designed, and all the blueprints are there, but nothing's been built. In fact, if we run this program, we cannot get to that form. The only way we can get to the form is if we create an instance of this particular object, an instance of the form character creator. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the first form, and we're going to take the button that creates the character. We're going to add a click handler, and when we double click it, we're actually going to create our new form and show the form. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to go in here. We want to open up form 1. And I'm going to go to my character creator button. I'm going to double click it. Right here, this is the form handler for that. And let's zoom in on it. I'll hide my properties so you can see the code here. And you could put form character creator. Okay, so when you create an instance, you start with the data type. This is a data type now. You can call it a shorthand for, if you want to, equals new form character creator, open and close parenthesis, like so, and then char creator dot show. Okay, that's it. This line here creates the form using this particular class, and you could even have a generic form that has generic handles on it, and you can create more instances of it. Let's go ahead and test it out. All right, let's see if this works. I click character creator, and there's my window popped up above the screen. So in the next tutorial, I'll go over how to capture that information, and then we'll actually code the class for a character and class object-oriented code.